I actually reviewed this movie before, but I actually got scared over YouTube's copyright patrols. So I actually had to delete it because in that original review I had a sound clip from Glenn Miller. So I'm gonna re-review it, and I don't really remember what I said about the movie about Hard Candy before, so I'm just gonna maybe I'm gonna retry to review it. Um, so Hard Candy is basically a film where it's about it's actually a flip kind of story where you'd expect the guy to be the villain because he's the one picking up the underage girl, but it turns out that like the movie keeps flipping around on they want you to who they want you to side with. Like on one hand, you can side with the guy because he's the victim the whole movie. Um, but you also don't want to side with him because he really is, a child molester. And even though he says, "Oh, I'm not a child molester," and all that, you never really believe his words because in the beginning kind of ruins his character. I mean, not as in like it's a bad ruin, but it ruins like any chance of the audience fully trusting him because you know that he is a predator, and he doesn't admit it until the end. So you never really get never really sympathize with him. On the other hand, there's Ellen Page, where in the beginning you sympathize with her, but when she turns heel, basically, you want to hate her, but at the same time, you know that she's torturing a predator. So like, you kind of want to side with her because you know that the guy she's torturing is not a how do you say is not a he hasn't done good things in the past, but at the same time you don't want to side with her because she's still torturing a person. So like it's this kind of dilemma that builds up most of the tension in this movie. Like you don't know who to side with, and it keeps flipping around on who you want to win at the end because this whole movie is just like it's a game of who's gonna win, who's gonna have the last laugh in the end. And I'm not gonna spoil who gets the last laugh, but like um, the whole movie is just it's just based on tension, just like it's a really like kind of dry tension where it's it's kind of like it there's no real music to this. It's based on how the two characters react to each other, how they react to their environment. It and you never really leave the house. It's just in this one environment, so it's like it really is just like a game of cat and mouse. Like the guy is trying to escape. He's trying to reason. He's trying to manipulate her, and the girl's watching her every like move, trying to make sure the guy never gets in control of the game. Because even though he is like most of the time being tortured and being harassed, he does at several points in the movie gain control, and Ellen Page, does admit that she loses control of her victim. And this is what makes the movie really good. It's because the tension is so well done because the actors the actors are actually really good in this movie. Um, whereas like Ellen Page became big in Juno and Patrick Wilson got big in maybe Watchmen, or if you consider Phantom of the Opera or whatever. This movie, to me, really went under the radar. Actually, like Ellen Page was actually better than she was in Juno, and Juno is considered her breakout film, which I kind of don't understand. I'm not saying Juno is bad or anything. It's just like I say her performance, Hard Candy, definitely should be called her breakout performance. And Patrick Wilson, like, he really plays the character as if, like, you want to be on his side, but at the same time, you know his history, you know what his character was gonna do if he didn't get knocked out in the beginning. And you don't want to side with him at the same time, but yet he makes his character so sympathetic that like it you really want to just like you're really just conflicted with Patrick Wilson's character, and that's what actually makes the movie totally worth it. I'm sorry about this things. And so is there anything else that is good about the movie? Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is really good. The whole like the whole like feeling where it's supposed to make you feel like you're on the edge of your seat, ready to expect like the unexpected. Yeah, it does it well. I mean, it really throws you onto some twists and turns. Is there negatives? Well, of course, like, you know, it as much as I talk good about it, there are some things that I can't really accept, um like when I did mention like one of the positive points were Ellen Page and Patrick Wilson's characters. You never really fully sympathize with them. And sometimes the movie did veer on points where it's like, you truly want one character to triumph another, whereas I'm pretty sure the director's intent was to make it as if you never fully sided with either of them, but at some points in the movie you really wanted Patrick Wilson to persevere in the end, and at some points you honestly really felt Ellen Page should persevere. And that was one of the problems. Like, I know I said earlier that like you the movie constantly is trying to make you choose who to pick with. Like they kind of pushed her to become a villain a little too far. Where I said that before. So in other bad parts, I felt like I don't remember her name. I'll probably edit this in later, but the neighbor who comes in to check up on her neighbor, Patrick Wilson, like I felt that like her character role could have been extended a little bit, and also the whole thing on the cover where it's like she's in a Red Riding Hood cape, and that never comes into play in the movie, and it also never really comes into play where it's like they're talking about Patrick Wilson's history, and yet they never really allude to. They kind of kept it a mystery, whereas like you kind of want like substantial proof that he did. Like the only real substantial proof he did anything was when he admitted it. He admitted. Okay, I spoiled it. He does admit it later on, but uh you kind of want more. That's what I want to say. You want more proof because it even though he says he did it, he it's kind of like you're not really convinced that he's the killer and that he was just forced to say it, because he was in this situation. That's how I felt. You could feel differently. I don't mind. Like you can comment how you felt about the movie, but that's how I felt. So overall, the movie is really good. Okay, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong and say, "Oh, you don't like this movie? What's wrong with you?" This was a really good movie. I'm not gonna lie. There are some parts wrong with it, but overall, it is a very, very good movie. I highly recommend it to anyone who's into these types of like suspense Saw-esque type movies, but without Saw's like ridiculous reliance on torture. Like there is torture in this movie, but it's torture that adds to the story, not torture that's there for like show, like for show. So comment your thoughts on this. Give me honest thoughts about the movie, and that's about it.